There's a place on the American map that no one talks about anymore. Somewhere between the Appalachian foothills and the forgotten towns carved into the mountains. It's a stretch of wilderness known as Hollow Creek Forest, and for more than 100 years it carried a reputation darker than moonless nights. People who stepped into Hollow Creek did not return. Not days later, not years later, not ever. Their bodies were never found, not even scraps of clothing. It was as though the forest itself consumed them. This is the story of what the world never knew, and how one man discovered that the forest was not a killer. It was a tomb guarded by ancient kings who wanted only one thing: justice. Opening scene, the legend of Hollow Creek. In the late 1800s, Hollow Creek Forest was already feared. Locals passed the story down the generations. Don't go in, don't follow the sound, don't even look too long. Hunters walked around it. Travelers never camped near it. Hikers swore they heard voices in the wind, whispers that carried their name. But then the disappearances began. A Civil War veteran heading home, a prospector searching for ore, a family whose wagon broke near the forest edge. Gone. All gone. Newspapers called it the Appalachian Bermuda Triangle, but the locals didn't call it that. They called it the forest that swallows men. The man who wanted the truth. In 1892, a 26-year-old historian named Jonathan Hale came to Hollow Creek searching for his older brother Matthew, who vanished into the forest 2 years earlier. Jonathan wasn't a hunter, he wasn't a soldier, he wasn't brave, but he had one thing that pushed him forward: grief that refused to fade. He spent weeks interviewing locals, hiking around the forest perimeter, collecting rumors. Every story ended the same way. People go in, people don't come out. But then someone told him about Eleanor Whitlock, an aging mountain healer who lived alone deep in the woods and was said to know the oldest secrets of the land. Jonathan found her cabin after a long, cold hike. She opened the door before he could knock. "You're here about Hollow Creek," she said. Jonathan nodded, startled. "Can you help me?" "No," she replied, "but I can tell you the truth. The revelation, the forest is a tomb." Inside her cabin, lit only by a lantern, she pulled out an old leather journal filled with symbols Jonathan didn't recognize. "They are not American," he murmured. "They're older," she whispered, "before European settlers, before these mountains even had names." She explained that long before America existed, this land belonged to a powerful kingdom ruled by 5 warrior kings. They died in a massive battle defending their people. But before the burial rituals could be completed, the kingdom collapsed. Their bodies were placed in a hidden underground chamber, right beneath Hollow Creek. But their spirits did not rest, Eleanor said. They woke, hungry, angry, twisted by the dishonor of an unfinished burial. Jonathan felt the air leave his lungs. "You mean the forest is haunted?" "Not haunted," she said. "Guarded. The curse of the 5 kings." Eleanor showed him a drawing of 5 tree-like monsters, giant wooden figures with faces carved into the bark, their roots stretching like veins through the ground. "At night," she whispered, "the kings rise. Their tree bodies uproot. Their limbs move like living branches. Their roots drag the living into the soil." Jonathan's heart pounded. "That's why bodies are never found," he said. "Because they're not killed," she said. "They're swallowed. The only way to break the curse." Eleanor turned to another page, the drawing of a golden crest shaped like a rising sun. "The crest of the fallen kingdom," she whispered. "The king's final wish, their symbol of honor." She touched the page with trembling fingers. "It was lost, but it still exists." Jonathan leaned forward. "Where?" "In the abandoned Ridge Point Chapel," she said. "If you return this crest to Hollow Creek at midnight, the kings will stop." Jonathan hesitated. "And if I fail?" Eleanor looked into his eyes. "The forest will claim you." The journey to the chapel. Jonathan recruited 2 locals, Aaron Briggs, a battle-tested Civil War hunter, and Michael Collins, a blacksmith whose wife had disappeared in Hollow Creek. They journeyed to Ridge Point Hill, forcing open the rotten chapel doors. Inside, buried under rubble and dust, they found the golden crest. But by the time they reached Hollow Creek, it was 11:57 p.m. They were almost out of time. Entering the forest from hell, the forest swallowed them the moment they stepped inside. The air turned freezing cold. Their breath fogged. The trees looked alive. Then the ground began to tremble. A deep cracking sound echoed. Crack! Crack! The kings were waking. Roots ripped through the dirt. Branches stretched like arms. 5 enormous tree giants rose from the darkness, their bark splitting open into faces filled with rage. Who disturbs our rest? Their voices thundered. Aaron lifted his rifle, but Jonathan blocked him. No! That will make them angrier. Jonathan lifted the crest. A blinding light erupted. The kings froze. The release of the spirits. Their bark cracked, their bodies trembled, and one by one the spirits of the 5 kings stepped out, tall, regal, weary. You brought us what our people forgot, the first king said. Now we may rest. They bowed. They dissolved into dust, and the forest finally fell silent. Jonathan cried with relief. Aaron stepped forward exhausted, but Michael was gone. The twist. The forest made a new guardian for weeks. Search teams combed the forest. Nothing. Jonathan tried to accept it, but something inside him knew the truth was not finished. Years later, after Hollow Creek became safe and green again, he returned alone. As he walked deeper into the forest, he heard a whisper. Jonathan. His breath caught. One of the oldest trees bore a familiar face. Michael's face, carved into its bark, frozen in expression, watching silently. He hadn't been eaten. He hadn't escaped. The forest chose him. Someone had to guard the tomb, and it chose the man with the purest heart.